If there is one thing in this world it would seem you could trust, it would be the ground beneath your feet. Lightning, hail, and other natural disasters come from above, but what you're standing on will always support you, right? Well, if you ever find yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time, then you just might find yourself victim to a tremendous landslide. Whether it's caused by an earthquake or soil erosion, landslides happen all over the globe. Sometimes they happen in remote areas, far away from any people. Other times, it's a real shame someone decided to set up shop on that specific part of land. From a highway in Japan to houses being swept into the ocean, here are 5 massive landslides caught on camera. One of the scariest things about landslides is that they usually happen without warning. But on very rare occasions, warning signs do appear, indicating that disaster is on the horizon. Along a stretch of highway near the city of Oto, Japan, engineers noticed that there were cracks forming in the roadway. Over the course of a few weeks, the cracks would get a little bigger. As this section of road was built on the side of a steep mountain, engineers knew that this could be a warning sign that the ground below it was breaking free and starting to slide. These things were noticed in February of 2004, and it was enough to cause the closure of the entire road. Movements were monitored by extensometers, and the data showed that the ground was surely creeping in a downward motion, inch by inch. Cameras were also set up by the government to monitor the area. Finally, on August 10th of that year, the stress became too much and the entire side of the mountain broke free. As you can see in the video, thousands of cubic meters of earth tumbled down the side of the mountain, dragging trees along with it in one of the craziest natural disasters we've ever seen. It is believed that the rainfall of a typhoon that struck earlier in the year saturated the ground so much that the soil nearly turned to liquid itself. Thanks to the watchful eye of engineers and scientists, the area had been evacuated many months before this landslide. So, there were no casualties or injuries of any kind. Believe it or not, landslides are actually a very common occurrence throughout the world. But have you ever stopped to ask yourselves why you've not heard much more about them? If they're so common, it would probably be bigger news, right? In actuality, many of these landslides happen in the most remote parts of the world, where no one is there to witness them. Luckily for one humanitarian worker, he was able to capture a number of these landslides on camera. While walking through a remote section of land in Nepal, the hiker was filming when suddenly, a major earthquake rocked the area. He was obviously a little panicked when it happened. But after he gained his composure, his camera panned around to the mountain on the other side of the valley. In multiple places on that mountain, landslides can be seen. In the video, you can count around 8 to 12 separate slides of varying sizes. He's even able to show a path that they were walking only 20 minutes prior that was nearly crushed from the debris.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. Stay here. Major earthquake. Holy crap. Oh my God, look at that. We're okay. I was hiding behind this rock right here. Holy crap, I'm shaking. I'm okay, just relax, wait. Look at that. Look at all the landslides that were triggered.
Nepal is a very geologically active region as far as earthquakes are concerned. But it is also a sparsely populated area. So these landslides often go relatively unnoticed and unreported. Luckily for this man, he not only captured an incredible moment on film, but survived to tell the tale. There are so many factors that can contribute to a landslide. Sometimes, rains saturate the soil of mountains, causing massive chunks of them to break free from the side. Other times, they can be triggered by powerful earthquakes. However, this video documents a totally different landslide that was not caused by either of these factors. It was caused by a phenomenon known as quick clay, and it is this that led to hundreds of square feet of land in Norway to slip into the sea. A man named Jan Egil Bakkeby, who filmed the landslide, described the event. "I had just made 2 sandwiches when I heard creaking. At first, I thought there was someone in the attic, but then I looked out the window and saw the power lines ripping and the ground moving." He watched helplessly as the ground started moving towards the sea, carrying everything on the land with it. Eventually, once it reached the sea, the ground sunk beneath the surface. Along with trees and power lines, there were about 8 structures as well, all of which were left floating freely on the surface of the water. Luckily, there was no one killed or even injured. Only one dog was on the land when it gave way, and he was able to swim to safety. So what is quick clay? It is a type of clay that is very unstable. So much so that if subjected to sufficient stress, the very makeup of it takes on more of a liquid state than a solid. Quick clay is mainly found in countries closer to the Arctic Circle, such as Canada, Sweden, Finland, and Russia, and account for many landslides each year. One of the most powerful and destructive geological events in American history was the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens. The blast from the eruption traveled at speeds of over 670 miles per hour, ejecting millions upon millions of tons of ash and rock in the blink of an eye. However, geologists had warning signs about the impending eruption. There were some minor earthquakes and gaseous expulsions from time to time, but nothing was more telling than the huge bulge that formed on the mountain's north face. Over the course of a few months, the incredible pressure from within the volcano was putting a ton of stress on the mountainside. There was so much stress that the entire north face began to bulge. Now, this bulge measured about 270 feet high in March before the eruption. For the rest of April and early May, this bulge grew by 5 or 6 feet per day. Eventually, by mid-May, it extended more than 400 feet, or 120 meters. On May 18, 1980, on the other side of the valley from the mountain, a photographer had been shooting photos, capturing the bulge in its entirety. As he was shooting, a magnitude 5.1 earthquake struck underneath the mountain. It was the trigger needed to cause the mountain's bulge to fail. What resulted was the largest landslide in history. The total volume of the mountain that collapsed was 2.79 cubic kilometers. That's the equivalent of 1,116,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The sudden release of these massive sections of land are what really make landslides both incredible to watch yet deadly to experience. It can catch people off guard and leave nowhere to shelter. However, there are rare occasions that landslides are slow-moving and can last for quite a while. This was the case on a stretch of highway just outside of Yosemite National Park. During the spring of 2006, alongside a section of Highway 140, a section of rock had broken off from the top of a huge cliff. This is not an unusual occurrence. However, the soil underneath the rocks was very unstable, and as it had been disturbed, a chain reaction had started. Soon, a few more rocks broke off, then more, then a few more. Now, as you can see in the video, these rocks weren't huge by any means, but it is the gradual accumulation of rocks that made this slide spectacular. In total, this section of mountain continued to slowly collapse over the course of many days. Little by little, the rocks would overtake the highway. Finally, after nearly a week, the rocks stopped falling and the soil was able to settle again. Road crews had to build temporary bridges around the disaster area while cleanup commenced. Eventually, the road was reopened. But this goes to show exactly how helpless people are to stop something like this, even when it happens at an incredibly slow rate. For those that live in the mountainous regions of the world, landslides will always be a threat. So many things can contribute to them. So people simply have to stay on their guard, closely monitoring the things around them. Only then can lives and property be saved. To see another video just like this one, be sure to click the link on screen now. And with that, thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in next time.